Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So as some of you might know, I am currently in the middle of working on my 2015 Chevy Silverado. The work I'm doing currently is rebuilding the whole motor. At the moment I am currently waiting on parts, and I thought this might be the perfect opportunity for me to clean out the engine bay while everything is disassembled and out the way. I did realize the car is very greasy and grimy. There's a lot of buildup of dust and dirt. It is almost 10 years old, so I think it's a good time for cleaning. So I got my gloves ready and I'm going to show you guys everything you need to clean up your engine bay. So let's get right into it. So I'm quickly going to go over all the things you will need to get this engine bay all polished up. So first we got a couple of microfiber towels, so definitely need a bunch of that. We got heavy duty cleaning wipes. We've got a parts cleaner, degreaser, electrical cleaner. I'm going to use this because most of my electronics are open and exposed, so I'm going to go ahead and clean them also. A degreaser, I got a degreaser, all-purpose cleaner, and then a wheel cleaner. So I'm going to combine these to get all the grease and grime off. And then for the detailing, I've got a black restorer. That's going to be for all the blacks and plastics. And then you also need a couple of garbage bags. That's going to cover up the main engine and make sure no water gets through where it doesn't need to go. Over here I've got a couple of plastic bags with zip ties. That's going to go over all the electronics, so for when I get it a little bit wet, to protect them. And then of course you're going to need some brushes and bristles and all the things. I got toothbrushes, and then also we got a set of pipe cleaners to get into those hard to reach places. And then another thing is going to be a compressor to get those air, get all the dust out of the small corners and nooks and crannies, make sure everything is out. And then also you would need a shop vac. That is also helpful if you don't want to blow the stuff everywhere. So let's get right into it. So I just want to show you guys where I am going to be cleaning most of the dirt. So mostly it's going to be around the outside of the motor, not so much around the motor itself, but on the outer side. So as you guys can see there behind the battery, there's a bunch of dirt over there inside those hinges by the hood. And then just all the way around, most of the grease and grime is places where you usually don't see it, but now that I've got everything out the way, it's very clear and obvious where I need to clean. So there's brake booster over there, the shock tower, so all those hard to reach places where you usually would not be able to get to or even see it. So I'm going to go ahead, clean up all this stuff, and it should be safe for the most part when it comes to spraying water. I am going to cover up all the switches that I've removed, like that one over there, these ones over here. That's why I have those plastic bags with the zip tie, so I can cover everything up. And then I'm also going to put a trash bag over the whole engine to prevent water from going in the pistons. I'm basically going to do a clean and detail. So I'm going to clean it, get all the grease and grime off, and then try my best to do a full detail and show you guys how to do it step by step. So the first thing I do is I take that garbage bag, put it over the engine, and then also use those little plastic bags with the zip ties and cover all the electrical switches. So we got everything covered up that we do not want to get any moisture in it. I got all my switches covered with little plastic bags. I got my fuel line covered up, and we are ready to start cleaning up. The first thing I'm going to do is dry cleaning, which is basically vacuuming all the little dust and debris as much as I can. After I sucked up everything with the shop vac, I used the air compressor and I blew out all the little dust I couldn't reach with the vacuum. Okay, two things I would like to mention when you clean your engine bay. Most likely your engine would not look like mine. It will be complete and everything there. One thing is to remove the air box, like your air system that goes into your intake. It's usually just a couple of clamps, couple of switches that you have to disconnect, and the whole air cleaner comes right off. That usually takes up a lot of space, and that'll help you to get into those harder to reach places. Another thing that's highly recommended, and you probably should do, is to disconnect the battery. Just in case you are gonna get some of the electronic components a little bit wet. Not necessarily that it will cause damage, but it's just a safe practice to remove the battery. And then if you can remove the battery completely, and you can also clean underneath in the battery tray. I'm going to start working from the top down, basically all the upper areas, and then work my way down. Before I get to that, I am going to use a degreaser, and then spray it onto those that frame that's got a big buildup. So I'm gonna let that soak in before I get to it, so that way hopefully it will come off a little bit easier. Okay, so while that is soaking, I'm going to start on this driver's side and get everything covered with a little bit of an all-purpose cleaner. You can also use a soapy dishwasher water mixture, and then also just spray it everywhere where there is not switches. So everything on the paint where it's supposed to be black and not brown with all the grease and grime and dirt, just get everything a little bit wet, and then we're going to wipe it off and see how clean we can get it. So after I got everything a little bit wet and soaking, I'm going to use these heavy duty cleaning wipes and just wipe off everything where I wet, and that way it should come clean. So chances are these wipes are going to get dirty, and that's what we want to see. That's wiping down this little bar and the brake fluid. So as you guys can see, it's really dirty. Black. So as I get one section clean, I'm going to wipe it off using a microfiber towel. That way it wipes off the last bit of dust and then also dries it at the same time. Basically, it's one section at a time. Just take your time. It doesn't take that long. When it comes to the wiring harness, it is okay for this to get a little bit wet. It's hard to get in there, so again, using a brush will get into those hard to reach places. So you can wet it up a little bit where there's not plugs or where it's like completely closed, and then just kind of work it with your little brush. And then we can go ahead and wipe it off. So next I'm going to use this electronic cleaner to clean up over here on top of this switch over here, and then also those over there. So as you guys can see, they are greasy and grimy, so I do not want to get any other fluids into them. So I'm going to use this electronic cleaner, which is safe to use on those switches. And it already looks a lot better. And now we're gonna clean in this area the same as we did on that side. Just get all the general open areas all cleaned up. Where there is only like a little bit of dust, I used those heavy duty wipes and I wiped it off and it came out spotless. Here you guys can see on the frame rail how the dirt and grime are just built up there completely. And as I moved to the other side, I got it completely cleaned up and it's looking shiny. I did, however, finished it with a wax spray just to seal it and make sure there's no rust buildup or anything like that. So what I found best with this thick grease and grime is to use a degreaser, spray it on, let it soak. Can be generous, just be careful with those electrical plugs. So once you spray it on, let it soak for about 5 minutes. You can go ahead and agitate it with a brush. That way the grease and grime would get a little bit loose. And then once you're done with the brush, you spray it off with brake cleaner. And that way a lot of these grease and grime would come off. As you guys can see, it's coming clean, and that's just one time. So you repeat that process a couple of times and it's gonna look like a shiny brand new one. Okay guys, so we got everything as clean as we could. As you guys can see, that framing came out pretty good. I think it's almost better than factory. It's not perfect, however, it is acceptable for me. I'm super happy there's not that big buildup of grease and grime. So those shock towers are looking a lot better, and you can actually see some serial numbers. Next thing is gonna be the detailing. So we got all the parts cleaned up and everything is looking good and fresh. But now it's time for that extra step, which is gonna be the detailing. We're mostly gonna be focusing on the plastics and the rubbers. For the detailing on the plastics and the rubbers, I am using this Meguiar's Ultimate Black. I prefer to use this because it is a water-based solution, so it doesn't keep it oily, and that way it prevents any dust from buildup happening again. The way I like to use this is to squirt out a bunch on one spot. You can use a little bowl, or in my case, I'm just putting it in the front plastic of the truck. And then I use a little brush as an applicator brush, and I rub it on all the plastics and rubbers. I am very generous, as you guys can see. We let it soak for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we go back and wipe it off with a microfiber rag. Okay guys, we got everything polished up. All the black is back to black and shining. Electrical box is looking good. All the brake, all that grease and grime we got cleaned up, it's looking fresh. And then also it is very shiny. All the plastics and rubbers, everything looks spanking new. So from before, we got a good cleanup everywhere we touched. Everything is looking fresh. Behind the battery box is all clean. In the hinges over there, it's all clean. And I'm super happy the way it turned out. Over here we got it all clean. And then last but not least is a quick little tip, is to show you guys how to get rid of these rusty little bolts that stands out like a Thor thumb. So the trick to get rid of these rusty spots is to use a metal marker. In my case, my truck is black, so I'm going to use a black marker. But if you do not have a black car, you can also use a silver that will match the bolts. In this case, or if you have plastics, if you have bolts over plastics, black would also work. So let's see what we can get done. And that right there looks 1,000 times better than what it did without it. As you guys can see here in the before, it was really nasty and dirty and greasy and grimy. However, we managed to get it all shiny and sparkly. Guys, that's gonna be a wrap for this video. Hopefully I showed you guys a couple of tips and tricks on how to clean your engine bay. Remember, your engine does not need to be completely disassembled to apply all these cleaning and detailing techniques. I just felt it was the perfect opportunity for me to do the detailing without all the engine parts in the way. However, you can do this with your engine completely assembled and then also have that perfectly finished engine bay. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you guys enjoy this content and also want to follow me rebuilding this 5.3 LS motor. It is still a long journey ahead, but so far it is going really good. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Until next time, goodbye.